Hello there. In this video, I'll be showing you how to track your business income and expenses in Google Sheets step by step. I'll also be giving bonus tips and a free template at the end of the video, so try not to miss any part till the end. Whether you're running a small business, a side hustle, or you just want to stay organized in your personal finances, this system works and it is easy. So hit the like button and subscribe for more digital tools and record keeping tips that makes your financial life smoother and easier. Let's jump in. So we're here to learn how to create a tracking system on Google Sheets for your income and expenses. This applies to every kind of business, whether you're running a business, whether you're trying to just track your income as your personal finances, monies that come in and how you spend, the things that are taking cash from you. This is where you will learn how to do that, where how to track your income and expenses. So this is my Google Chrome browser page, and as you can see, I'm logged in already. If you're not using a Google Chrome browser, for you to access the Google Sheet spreadsheet, you just need to type the docs.google.com/spreadsheet. It will open up for you on whatever browser you're using. But when you're using the Google browser, you just come on here, make sure you're logged in, and then you click on these 9 dots here which says Google Apps. Once you click on it, you just scroll down, and then you'll see Sheets right here. And then you click on it, and when it opens up, this is the first page you will see. These are templates that you can use to start, right? These are already designed templates from Google. And so, but what you want to do is click on the blank spreadsheet, your spreadsheet first, right? So renaming you're in, and the beautiful thing about Google Sheets or any Google app is that it is cloud-based, and whatever information you have on there, you hardly lose them because you do not have, even if you lose your laptop, all you need to have is your login details, and then whenever you log in, you will have your data right where they are, right? So that's why I recommend Google Sheets over any other type of spreadsheet. So let's jump right into it. So before we begin with going to designing or creating the spreadsheet, I need to explain some things to you. First of all, there are mistakes that people make when recording or tracking their income and expense records, right? First mistake is people tend to track all cash, every cash that comes in. The people I'm talking about right now are business people. They tend to track business cash as income, right? So, and that is very wrong, right? Your sales, not every cash that comes in from your business is supposed to be categorized as, or is supposed to be tracked or recorded as the income, right? Your income, what you should track as your income should be spendable cash, right? And not every cash that comes into your business is spendable. For instance, your sales is not spendable. Your sales is supposed to go back because that's where your capital is, right? The sales is the cash that comes in from the sales of products, right? So when you sell your product, your capital is supposed to go back into the products so that you can stay in business. But by the time you spend your sales on expenses, it doesn't come back, right? So what you need to do is, first of all, you need to remove spendable cash from the cash that comes in from sales. And how do you do that? Every business, you should know your cost price and selling price, right? Minus selling price. This is what should give you spendable cash. Spendable cash. Now this is where a lot of people make mistakes, right? Your cost price, that's where your capital is, your cost price, right? Your selling price holds both your cost price and your profit, right? So you can say spendable cash is your profit. Also, spendable cash can also be cash that comes in as, say, service payment, or any cash that is not product, that is not from sales, could be spendable, right? You could use those for expense purposes. But once it is from sales of products, the cost price has to be removed from the cash before it is categorized as spendable or as income, right? So what I'm saying right now is spendable cash is equals to income for this lesson, right? So when you make sales, remove the selling price from, you remove the cost price, sorry, from the selling price, and then you get your income or spendable cash. You understand? Also, the same thing goes for expenses. Not every cash that is spent, not everything that is spent on will be classified as expenses. I'm taking my time to explain this so that you know what to track on this system, right? You're not going to track your purchases. Your purchases are not the same as expenses. Expenses are running cost. So anything that you spend money on for running the business is called expense. The monies that you spend, like to buy fuel, to pay transportation, do repairs and maintenance, all of those things are expenses. But purchases are the monies that were spent for buying products, replacing, restocking, right? Restocking the products you want to sell. These are the costs that should be categorized as purchases, and they are not to be categorized as expenses. Do you understand? So what we are trying to track here are the income and expenses, which in other words, spendable cash and running costs. That's what we're doing on this particular sheet, right? So I hope you get it. So let's get to designing of the tracking system. So the first thing we want to do here is to begin by labeling the column headers, right? Now, first of all, you need to understand that up, down, this way is the columns, right? And then this way is called the rows, right? So now each of these boxes, they're called cells, right? We want to begin to label the headers, right? So the first header we're going to label will be date. The next one we're going to be labeling will be called descriptions, right? The next will be in, the next out. Then we'll have balance. And then last would be categories. So these are the headers we're going to be recording with, right? You're going to be classifying your records under these labels. You understand what I mean by that is under the dates is where you're going to be putting in the dates for your transaction. Under description is going to be where you'll be describing the transaction in your own words, right? How it happens in a way that you will remember it, right? Under in, okay, so let's put in as cash in so that you understand exactly what you are recording, right? Cash in, cash out, which should be, cash in should be, like we discussed earlier, spendable cash coming in, and then expenses will be cash going out on running cost, like your expenses. You understand what expenses are? So then the balance, right? Now we're going to be putting up a formula later on, we're going to be putting up a formula to make this system do the calculation for us. You're not going to be putting your balance by yourself, right? So that you don't make any mistakes. And so that's the reason why you have to follow me very closely and be very attentive. Follow me closely and focus. Now, under the category label, this is where you're going to categorize your expenses and the cash coming in with specific labels. What I mean is when you give money to your staff, as maybe you give money to you pay your staff upfront, it's going to be categorized as salary and wages. It's the same thing when you pay a service person, maybe someone that came to fix the generator. It's also going to be categorized as salary and wages. You understand? Now, having explained that, let's go back to the designing of the system, right? So what you want to do next is make this different from the rest of the sheet, right? So you want to make the write-up bolder, right? So that they can stand out, right? So you highlight. How did I do the highlighting? Let me do it again. You click on the first label, which is date. Click and drag all the way down to category. It highlights, and then the next thing you want to do is click on bold, or you can do Control B, right? Then the next thing you want to do is to freeze the top row, right? So that when you're scrolling down, this first row will not go up, and then you no longer see these labels. These labels will stay here while you're scrolling down. So how do you do that? You click on one. Once you click on number one here, the whole row of number one will highlight, and that's what you want to freeze. You go to view up at the top here, click on view, you see freeze, right? On freeze, you come to one row and click one row, right? It's highlighted, it has freezed. Now, this is what I mean when you see that the numbers are going down, but number one is still there, right? That's what it means. That's what it does. So the next thing you want to do is you want to open up this description, because this is where you're going to be putting a lot of write-ups. You're going to be putting long write-ups. So you want to open it up, right? So that you can be able to, you can have enough space to write what you want to write. So then the next thing you want to do is you want to highlight these three columns. The reason you are highlighting them is because these columns are the columns where you're going to be putting figures. Now, if you're putting figures in these columns, they are going to be different from these other columns where you'll be writing letters, right? So you want to put a format on this tree so that whenever you put in the figures, there will be a comma on the numbers. Let's just do that. So numbers, you want to put it, you don't want to put it as automatic so that you just write numbers and the numbers just show like that, or plain text. What you want to put it as is numbers, so that it can have this comma, right? And then the decimal place, right? Like this, so that you can also track your kobo and pennies, right? And then whatever lower currency your country has, wherever you're watching from. But in Nigeria, we have Naira and Kobo, right? So you want to put it like that. You want to put it as numbers. You're highlighting them so that in these three places, they will have the same kind of formats, right? Now, having done that, you click on a cell to release the highlight. Now, the next thing you want to do is we want to now begin to understand how to use this spreadsheet to categorize our records, right? First of all, the date. Now, this is the income and expense for June 2025, right? When you want to put in your date, you should use one type of date pattern, right? 01 June 2025, right? If you're using this, you shouldn't use 01 slash 06 slash, you understand? So use one type of date format. That's what I mean. Then same thing with the category, right? Let's open this up a bit because some of the categories are quite long. Now let's say, like the example I gave before, salaries, right? You want to put salary and wages. If this is what you want to use for categorizing monies that are paid to your staff and services that are rendered to your business, if this is what you want to use, you shouldn't categorize another transaction as just salary, right? You see that it's already giving me the suggestion, right? So always use it this way, right? Don't just end as, say, salary, like you just end as salary and just leave it like that. It doesn't make any sense when you're tracking your expenses and you want to filter through, say, okay, you want to find out all the salary and wages that you paid for the month. It will not, this salary will not show, this salary will not come out, right? When you filter down for only salary and wages, you will not find this salary here. That's the reason why. So next, we're going to do a formula here. Now, at the beginning of every month, you're supposed to have an opening balance. We're supposed to have an opening balance. There's supposed to be cash at hand. Now, the balance is going to be, let's call it 30,000. Now, you can see that because of the formatting that we did earlier, by putting in this format on this three, right, the number has shown with a comma and with the decimal, right? If you do not want these two decimals here so that your records will not be looking clumsy, click on it and you remove the decimal place, right? And then it goes off. But I prefer to use the decimal place. I think it's important. So now this balance, this is the opening balance, right? So let's take this out. So this is the opening balance for the month, right? So let's say on the same day, maybe you sent someone to the bank or you sent someone on an errand, say to get supplies, right? So transport for supplies, transportation for meat. I don't know why that came into my mind though. By Ali, right? The amount is 1,000, right? We're going to put in a formula to make sure that normally you're supposed to put 29,000 down here, but we'll put in a formula that's going to make that this system will calculate it by itself and 29,000 will show here, right? So this is how to do it. Watch me closely. It's not hard, it's very easy. Just watch. You click on this cell here, writing a formula on spreadsheet. You first start with, right? Once you put equals, you click on the balance, right? Plus. You see that it's already suggesting what it thinks I want to do. So plus balance plus cash in down here minus, watch here, you see this is where you see what I'm doing. Watch here, right? So this is equals here, the balance, the opening balance, which is the first cell on column E, row 2, right? On column E row 2 plus column C, which is the cash in row 3, right? You can see it, row 3, then minus, you can already begin to get the idea. You come here and click minus this column, then you click enter. The moment you click enter, the formula has entered and you see that it has done the calculation for you. Now, instead of doing this calculation every time, what you need to do is just click on here, put the cursor, make the cursor come into this very tiny cross. When you click down there and drag down the formula down, and then pastes to every other, to the rows under, right? So you don't need to put this formula again. Once you drag it down, it pastes down, which means you don't need to put the formula again on these cells. So once you've come to this point, and then you still need to put more records, just hold and drag down, and it keeps going down, and it keeps going down, and it keeps going down. So now you will say, okay, why is it showing the 29 throughout here? It's because this is the last balance, right? If maybe an income, maybe on the next day, say maybe June 2nd, on June 2nd you have maybe cash income, maybe from, you have brought in spendable cash from sales, right? Say cash income, right here. It doesn't matter what you put out, like what you put down here. It's just for you to remember. You're not going to be filtering with any of this. It's just for you to remember what is there, right? So let's say cash income comes in, say a cash of like 40,000, right? And it enters. You see that the balance has changed to 69,000. So 40,000 has added to 29,000, and it's now 69,000. And that's how it goes. If you put say 20,000 here, reduces 49,000, and that's how it will keep going down and keep going down and keep going down and going up. When you put in a figure here, which is cash comes in, it will increase, the balance increases. When you put in a figure down here, the cash reduces. You understand? So now let's go to categorizing. Now for this part now, what you want to put in here is the category that you're going to be using to classify every kind of transportation, both transportation to the bank, transportation to get meat, transportation to buy fuel, transportation, whatever it is that you paid transport fare for, is going to be categorized as transportation, right? That's the categorization for everything transport, right? I hope you understand that. Now on this, I'm going to give you a list of categories, right, that you can use, right? I told you I was going to make it very easy for you. So at the end of this video, the template for this particular template is going to be available on the description. The link to the template is for free, is in the description. You can just click it and copy the template and begin to use it already. And then also the link to a list of 40 expense categories for any kind of business. You can also come up with your own category. The only thing there is, make sure that once you've come up with that category, that's the category you'll be using, right? That's what that is. Now this is for the first part of this sheet. Now remember that you don't only spend money in cash, right? We all have bank accounts. I'm sure that that question has been coming to your mind. So this first part of the sheet is, let's label it as cash records. We're going to be making another kind of sheet, right? We're going to be making another sheet for tracking bank records, right? But we're not going to be tracking the monies that come into your bank account. Do you understand? We're only going to be tracking expenses from your bank, right? The reason why is because your bank statement, your bank account already has a statement system where you can reconcile every cash that comes in to your account at the end of the month, right? So let's label this first before I continue. Bank expense records. You want to keep an eye on the expenses you make from your bank, right? So we're going to, like we did at the beginning, label the headers, the column headers, so that we can classify our records. On here, we'll have to classify with, first we start with date. It's quite important. Description is also very important. Description. Then we'll have amount of expense, the amount that was spent, right? And then category. Now, we're going to do the same thing we did to make it bolder, right? Make it bold, and then freeze the first row. I'm sure you're already doing it before me, right? So I'm sure you've already done this before me, right? So what we want to do here, let's open up this. Also, you need to also put, if you have more than one bank account, that's when this is important. But also, you can still put bank, right? If you have one bank account, you just keep putting the name of your bank and just continue putting the name of your bank and just keep going like that, right? But if you have more than one bank, make sure to put the bank that the expense was made from, right? If you made an expense from bank one, if you made an expense from bank one today, make sure it's classified as bank one. If the expense was not made from this particular bank, it was made from another bank, make sure that the bank also, the X is categorized as that bank. Okay, let's not use bank. Let's use the names of banks that familiar banks here in Nigeria, say Access Bank, right? And then you have the next one should, let's say, GT Bank, right? Now, you do not want to have access. You do not want to have on this part of the category of this part of the classification, you will have access. Then when you want to now put on another transaction is made from Access Bank, you now want to classify, then you now put Access Bank. It will be seen as two different banks on this system, right? You understand what I mean? It's the same thing with the category, like I explained in the cash records, right? Make sure that your coding and formatting are the same when it comes to category, date, and banking, because these are the informations you'll be filtering to track your transactions. You understand? So from what I have explained on these cash records, I'm sure you'll be able to put in you'll be able to put in dates and describe your transaction, that was the transaction that was made from which bank, the amount that it was put. Okay, so you highlight just this one now because it is for numbers, right? And then put the format for numbers on the amount, right? So that everything you're putting here will come out as numbers. Now let's do one thing. Now let's say you withdrew cash from the bank, right? So on this day, say on June 2nd, you withdrew cash. So we're going to call that cash. You see, it's giving me suggestions, right, based on what I have put before. But withdrawals, that's not what I want. So, right, maybe from Access. Make sure you describe it so that you know where the money came out from, so that when you're reconciling your records, you're going to find the bank that you withdrew the cash from, right? So cash withdrawals on your cash records will not be an expense, right? Rather, it's going to be cash coming in, right? So let's say you withdrew 20,000 from Access, right? Your balance has increased, right? Now when you go to your bank records and also put on 2nd of June 2025, there was cash withdrawal. Of 20,000, right? Withdrawal, or you can still also categorize it as cash withdrawal, right? It's really up to you, but just remember what you categorized it as, so that when you're filtering through, you know exactly what you are looking for, right? From Access Bank, right? So that when you want to reconcile at the end of the month, when you see cash withdrawals here, you're going to see it on your bank statement. Once you see it on your bank statement, say, okay, on 2nd of June, this amount was withdrawn from Access, from your account, from your Access account. You come to your records and then you see that, okay, it's in the cash. It's part of the cash that came in, right? And you also, it should also be represented in your bank expense record that the cash came out of your bank. So that's the essence of tracking your records, both in cash and the records from the bank, right? You have your bank statements to always tell you, okay, this cash came into your bank. So at the end of the month, during your reconciliation, you will see everything, that all the monies, all the transactions that has happened within the month, and then you can reconcile your expenses with this sheet. And then for the cash, which nobody has records of but you have to track both the cash coming in and the cash going out. Next, I'll show you how to create a pivot table. With the pivot table, you'll understand how to track the cash flow within your business organization. Okay, so I've taken my time to populate this sheet. This is what it would look like by the time you've populated to an extent, right? So what we want to do right now is to learn to create a pivot table for tracking and reconciling both your expenses and your income. So first of all, we're going to highlight the whole record, right? We're going to highlight everything on here, the whole record, right? And then you go to insert pivot table, right? It will ask you to, if you want a new sheet, you should use a new sheet, right? So create new sheet, right? So you create a new sheet, then you want to add your categories to this. You want to bring in your categories to populate your category column, to populate these rows, right? So you add to rows and say category, and then you see all the category that you have put in will show on that page, right? All the category you have put in will show down like this. So the next thing you want to add is the value. You want to add the value because what you want to do is, let's say you want to find out what you have spent money on for that month, right? So all the categories, all the category of expense that you have made is what you have brought out by adding category, right, to that row on the pivot table. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to add the value, right? Values of cash out. Let's say you want to find, like we said, you want to find out the cash that has gone out, the expenses you have made, and what you made the expenses for, right? So what you made the expenses for, you've already put that in category, right? Then cash out is the money that you spent, right? So it comes in, it appears here. You see all the monies that has been spent. These 00 are the columns that were left empty, which means these cells were not filled in, which means these cells were cells for cash that came in. Right now, if you look at it, you see the category that you put in is income. That's the way the pivot table works, and then it gives you a grand total of how much has been spent in the month, right, with the category. Highlight the whole record, Control C, and then you come and paste right here.
And then there you have it, right? The sum of the whole expenses that has been made, sum of cash out. You have your report for sum of cash out. These are the things that we spent money on. This is how we spent the money. You can also filter. You can also filter down and say, okay, create a filter. And I made a video on how to create filters, right? So that is all about income and expense tracking. If there are questions you have, please do well to put them in the comment section. So I'll go through the comment section and then we'll know what other videos where we're having issues with record keeping, what other tutorials to make that will help simplify your financial transaction tracking and make your financial life easier. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. The link to the free template is in the description below. The link also to the list of categories that you can use to categorize your expenses is also in the description below. So check it out and then subscribe. If you got value from this video, please like and share. Somebody else might be struggling with this and doesn't know that this video is available. So like and share and subscribe so that other people can find this video and also find the help that you found. Thank you so much.